Good morning, it's Christine Crutcher from Create with Christine. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning, whether you are going to join me here live in a minute or catch the replay. I'm running a few minutes behind, so sorry about that. Today I am featuring the Sale-A-Bration product. I'm going to call it a bundle. I'm not sure if Stampin' Up! Officially is calling it a bundle, but it's called Friendly Hello. And there is a stamp set and designer series paper, and it does come as a bundle, and it's free if you spend $100 between now and February 28th, 2022. So I'm featuring this this week as my product of the week. I made some swaps with it just last week, and it's 12 by 12 designer series paper. So up and down, these are the front and the back. So really pretty springy colors. Kind of reminds me almost like Easter-ish in a way. Hey, good morning, Janine. Thanks for tuning in. So if you have the little Sale-A-Bration catalog in front of you, it is right on page 12. You'll see the little icon that says free with a $100 purchase. And then some cute samples on the page next to it. So let me show you what the project that I'm going to make today. This is a little bit more for an avid crafter, and so I have a bunch of different things going on, and I'm using both the paper and the stamp set. Hey, good morning, Elaine. Thanks for tuning in this morning. So we're going to be doing heat embossing and using Stampin Blends to color after you do heat embossing. So I made swaps in my swap, and I should have grabbed it. I didn't grab it, and it's downstairs, so I'm not gonna make you wait while I run down there and get it. I did heat emboss, but I did not color with the blend, so I wanted to do kind of something different here. So my swappers will have something different. Okay, so I have a lot to cover, so I'm gonna point the camera down, find myself in my feed, and jump right in. I hope you're all having a great week. And obviously take a sip of tea as well. Let me find myself here in my feed. And when I woke up this morning and yesterday morning, it was 1 degree here in New England. So it is like great crafting weather. I'm trying to get the camera moved a little bit, so sorry if it's a little bumpy. Okay, I can work with this. So here's the card. And there's a bunch of stamping, and let's just jump right in, okay? So I'm going to do the heat embossing part first, and I'm like literally running out of room on my table this morning. So I'm going to stamp oh, he's so cute, the little bird image. And it's a photopolymer stamp set, so I used my Stampin' Pierce mat, and I have a piece of basic black cardstock. So, funny story, yesterday I was prepping some card kits, and if you saw my Facebook post yesterday, well, let me just show you. This happened. My 3 cutting plate for my Stampin' Cut Emboss machine broke in half. So this was kind of sort of the one that I used on top, and then I had a different one underneath. So this one is not as cut up as my other one. So I was using my scallop contour dies, and bam! And guess what? Public service announcement. Always make sure you have an extra set of cutting plates, because I do not. So when I was designing the card today, I had to think about what I was going to use. And I used my mini cut and emboss machine. And luckily my card kits I'm able to cut because I have the mini machine. Hey, good morning, Linda. Thanks for tuning in. So my black is, long story short, 3 1/4 square, because my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine is 3 1/2. So I needed my cardstock that my die cuts to be smaller than 3 1/2. So I did 3 1/4. We're gonna stamp the bird in Versamark. So you're not gonna be able to see it because Versamark's a watermark ink pad, right? So I want to make sure this is good and wet, and I'm just going to try to stamp in the middle, and I press and hold with photopolymer for a couple seconds, and it's there. I can see the watermark, looks great. And let's just do the embossing, and then I'll do the other stamping after. So what I do, hey, good morning, Pam. Good morning, Dee. Thanks so much for tuning in. When I'm embossing, I take 2 pieces of computer paper, just like 8.5 by 11, that you'd put in your printer, and I put it down, and then I put my image on top, and I'm gonna use white embossing powder, okay? And I'm gonna kind of, I know my Versamark is there, but it's a little hard to see. Okay, so I'm just gonna dump, and then very carefully and gently pick up. I'm gonna try to flick some of the excess. This image does pretty well, and then I'm gonna actually, well, let me just do it now. I'm gonna take a paintbrush and kind of take some of the little specks. If you have something called an embossing buddy, you can also use that before you start, but I just find this works as well. We used to sell the embossing buddy, we don't anymore. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm just gonna put this to the side and try not to touch it for a second, and I'm gonna make sure I get my powder back in my jar. Okay, so since I have 2 pieces of computer paper, I can make a funnel out of this one and funnel it right back in. And embossing powder doesn't last forever. You want to make sure it's pretty like smooth and not clumpy. If yours is clumpy at all, you should get rid of it. So I'm using white, but in the basics, there's also clear and black. So you get a 3-pack in the basics embossing powders. So something great if you want to add it to your wish list to get during Sale-A-Bration, so you can get something free if you spend $50. Or in this case, to get the friendly hello, you'd have to spend $100. Okay, so I'm gonna come back and get this guy that I just did, and I'm gonna try to hold in the corner while I heat up with my heat tool. So it's gonna get a little bit loud for a minute here while I heat this up, and bear with me. So you saw the paper kind of, the embossing powder turn from like a chalk to a white. If your paper is kind of like warped, you can also heat emboss the other side, the reverse. Okay, and that looks great to me. So I'm all set, and I can put that aside. Okay, so what I ended up doing is, oh yeah, use a wooden clothespin to hold the paper to keep from burning yourself. That's a great tip. I've seen people like use tweezers, although if they're like metal tweezers, I think they might burn themselves. So let me see where I want to go now. Let's just do the rest of the stamping. I think that would be a good place to go now, and then I'll show you the coloring and putting this all together. So I'm actually just going to bring over another piece of scrap paper and do my stamping. So I want to put the sentiment down in the corner, and let me see, I want to make sure you guys are seeing this. And I'm switching to Memento, and I have the Hello Friend stamp. Let me pick this up. This stamp wasn't stamping all that wonderful earlier, but I have a tip for how I can fix that I'll show you at the end. See, I can already tell when I ink it up, but I'll show you a tip at the end. So there we go. And then what I'm gonna do is I have the flowers, there's 2 flowers on a stamp, and I'm gonna put this in the opposite 3 corners of, this is a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of fresh freesia. It's so funny because this is not how this card started out whatsoever, but this is how it ended. So I'm just rolling with it this morning. I stayed up way too late watching the football game last night, and then of course they broke our hearts and lost, but that's okay. Next year's another year. So I'm just kind of rotating and doing in the 3 opposite corners of the sentiment, the 3 flowers. Okay, and then all my stamping is done. Let me get this stuff out of the way, the Pierce mat out of the way, and put this aside. I don't have any room on my table. And let me show you what I did with the coloring. Actually, no, I'm gonna bring this back just because I'm using blends and I like to have scrap paper in case it goes through. I brought over 3 colors of blends, and I'm using the dark because you'll see, like with the pool party, it is so light. So we did start out with a 3 and 1, was it 3 1/4? It might have been 3 1/4 inch piece. I'll have all the measurements below, but I cut it out with my layering circles with the scalloped. And I actually did something different this time. I usually put the scallop after, but I put the scallop in the middle and did a circle around it. So I usually stamp on the circle and do the scallop after, but I'm going to do it reverse order this time. Okay, so with your blends, you're just going to color over the white. And I know with pool party, this is going to be like so light, so I'm going to go over it a couple times. And I'm starting light to dark. So meaning I'm using the pool party is the lightest color of the 3 that I grabbed. And I just did this, these were colors in the designer paper. You could obviously do any colors you want. So it's very subtle on the pool party. Then I'm gonna do the flowers, fresh freesia. And it looks kind of more pink here, but you can just keep adding color. I went around a couple times. So just scribble. It's just a fun way to color the embossing. And I don't think I've showed this before. It's been a while since I did this, but since I was on the embossing kick this week, and this was a perfect stamp set to show. So you can add some more to the middle, add as much as you want. Now when I get to the shaded spruce, this is pretty dark. So I went, I was kind of, you know, light on the shaded spruce, and gotta be careful because the bird has like little feet, and I think on one of them I colored over the feet, but you can kind of go around and like make an edge, and then you just got to figure out and commit to it. Obviously if you go over the purple with the green, it will cover that up because the green's darker, but I'm just lightly scribbling. And then I'm going to call it and say, that looks pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty good, so I'm done. And then I'll come up closer. I'll put a close-up on my blog at christinestamps.blogspot.com so you can kind of see it a little bit closer too. It's really super pretty. Okay, so I got that out of the way, and then it's just about putting the rest of the layers together. So my 4 by 5 1/4 freesia, I debated on what to do here, and I ended up cutting my paper one way, cutting my paper another way. So I ended up with a piece of designer paper that's 3 by 3 square and a piece of white that's 3 1/8 by 3 1/8 square. So, oh, thanks so much, Pam. I'll have another project with this bundle on my blog on Tuesday for Casing Tuesday. So I created one, but I might change it up a little bit. I haven't decided yet. So after last week, I did the Sale-A-Bration kickoff, and we made 4 projects, and you guys seemed to gravitate more to projects that were more embellished. So I kind of went more on the Avid today for this project. And why don't I just put it to the card base too while I'm here. I just did basic white. You could do black. The designer paper is really just the 3 colors, the Freesia, the white, and the black. So the contrast of the black with the embossing with the white seemed to work well. Okay, so, and then I took a piece, it's very subtle, a piece of the Fresh Freesia in color ribbon, and I'm just gonna kind of put it in half, and I'm gonna put it between my cardstock layering circles. Okay, so I'm just gonna use glue dots, and whoops, I'm just gonna put the ribbon right to the glue dot about in the middle, grab it off there. It's really chilly, so all my adhesives are in the office upstairs, and I'm right by a window, so all my adhesives are not happy campers right now. Then I'm gonna take another glue dot, and I'm gonna put it to the circle, kind of just like hanging out a little bit. And you can kind of figure out where you want it to go. So, oops, I just shook the camera. I'm sorry about that. So I kind of wanted it to go kind of sort of pointing towards my letters, I guess. You could go this way. Let's go this way. Okay, so I'm just gonna give those a quick trim with my paper snips. And you can be as fancy as you want here. You could do, whoops, that one didn't come out so good. But you could do, I think I did opposite when I did the original. And you could totally move this circle and, you know, make it off the square a little bit or whatever floats your boat. And then I'm ready to put this guy up on dimensionals. Hey, good morning, Melissa. Thanks for tuning in. Glad you like the technique. Yeah, it's one, I think when Stampin Blends first came out, maybe I did this, but now they've been out a little bit, and I haven't done it in a while, so it's just neat techniques that come out. And they're new again. So, dimensionals on this guy, and then just to finish it off, I did put a little in color jewel. Sorry, let me move this so you can see it better. There we go. So the in color jewels, they come in all the 2021, 2023 in colors. So I just grabbed a Freesia one and put that in the eye and friend. But on both of these, my hello friend didn't really come out so great. So if you take a black marker, and honestly I grabbed 2 because I'm not sure which one is the best, but you can kind of sort of do a dot technique to kind of darken these up a little bit. So if you stamp and you know so you can keep dotting and make it a little bit darker to make it a little bit more pronounced. This one was a little bit darker. It just seems like my L's and my O maybe could be a little bit darker. So I can use my marker to fix that up. So that is my project for today. So I hope you enjoyed it. And again, this is Friendly Hello. I'll have the measurements below so you can circle back and all the products I used, and I'll have pictures and the products I used on my blog at christinestamps.blogspot.com. Let me know if there's something else that you'd like me to feature in one of my Sunday lives. Next week, I am actually going to be doing another class for February for just the month of love. So I'm going to have 4 projects next week for the month of love. Let me put the camera back to my face, even though I'm like feeling like a hot mess today, but it happens. So Sale-A-Bration kits were prepped yesterday, and my paper share was prepped yesterday. So those are going to be going out. Tomorrow is a holiday for post office, so those will probably go out to them on Tuesday when the mail starts up again. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow me on Facebook at Create with Christine or on YouTube at Create with Christine. And I'll have another project to share next week, but it will be a class you'll be able to watch for free. But if you want the make and takes for February for the month of love, you'll have to place an order on a host code to get the make and take projects. So have a great week, everybody.